Hey everybody, in this video we've got a hypothetical 2024 matchup, and we've got Bill Gates for the Democrats and Donald Trump for the Republicans. This is outlandish, but it was suggested to me in the comments a long time ago. I can't do every suggestion, this one is borderline, and this is far from a confident prediction. This is mostly to spark some conversation and get some different takes in the comments. So I'm going to start by filling out the obvious safe states as I go over some of the background. We pretty much know everything there is about Trump. He's got a lot of baggage, but he does ignite a lot of voters to come out for him as well as against him. Now, Bill Gates, on the other hand, I think would run as more of a standard run-of-the-mill establishment Democrat. The personality contrast with Trump is stark. Gates has no flair, he's bland, but sometimes that can win races. I would guess Gates might try to highlight some environmental issues. He's going to try to sound compassionate, but not at all convince any progressives that he's on their side economically. His rhetoric would mostly be around gradual change and maintaining the status quo. He would probably say he's going to protect democracy and abortion, but it is true that I don't really know where Gates is going to stand on all the different issues. He's very, very wealthy, just like Trump, but on the Trump side, his base is able to look past that and connect with him on other issues, more so on the cultural side. Gates has all kinds of philanthropy and charities he could point to. He might get some blowback on things related to the vaccine patents. I don't think either side would dramatically shake up the economic system. I'm sure Gates might come out and at least say that people like him should pay a lot more in taxes, but again, I don't really think progressives focused on economics are really going to believe too much out of Gates. The best I could guess is Gates would run as a little bit younger version of Joe Biden, bland but comforting, while Trump, on the other hand, is going to be running on change. He's not going to be afraid to talk about some of the popular cultural issues associated with the right, and he at least theoretically will have some economic messaging other than your standard Republican that just calls for lower taxes. So now that we've got the map filled out, let's try to hit up the states that are not considered safe, and these should be under 10-point margins. And for the most part, I'm trying to assume it's something in the direction of a neutral environment. Of course, right now we see Biden, the party in power, has low approval ratings. I won't completely disregard that, but I'm not going to put all the weight on it because in this situation, it's going to be Gates who's the nominee. But this is going to assume that everything on the Trump side still happened. First, let's take a look at New Mexico. This is an easy call. It's going to go to Gates. I can see that being under 10 points, so we're going to put that as likely. Now, what about next door in Texas? Could Gates accelerate the trend and get it down under 5 points? Or would he suppress turnout with Democrats and Republicans would come out and put Trump into safe territory? It's tough. I'm going to say it's a wash, and we're going to put it at likely for Trump. If we skip over to Florida, I think it's reasonable to think this would be at least 5 points for Trump, so we're going to put that at likely. If we go up to Virginia, the DC suburbs I think are going to stay pretty blue. Trump is going to be the scary outsider who might upset the system. So in the end, Gates is going to get that. It's not going to be 10 like it was back in 2020, but it is going to be over 5 and go likely for Gates. If we go up to the northeast corner and take a look at Maine, of course, Gates is going to do well in the first district. It's going to be higher educated and higher income. In the second district, I think that could still hit 10 points, so I'm going to put that as safe for Trump. Now, the state at large, I think would be about 5 to 6 points for Gates, so it is going to go likely. If we go next door to New Hampshire, I think it's going to go to Gates. The only question is going to be the margin. I think it would be right around 5 points. It could get down to leans, but I'm going to say it goes likely for Gates. Now, if we go to the Midwest, we've got Iowa and Ohio. They're not the same state, but I think the margin is going to be the same. Usually they go likely for the Republican, and I think that would stay the same. I don't see Gates having a ton of appeal in a state like Iowa. And in Ohio, another state that has moved toward the right, I'm not sure Gates is going to have the right kind of connection with blue-collar working-class voters. Even if they might be more into his economic messaging, Trump's brand and his cultural appeal is going to keep this at likely for Trump. Then if we take a look at Minnesota, this is another one I think would be right at around 5 points. We'll say this one dips down to 4.9 and goes leans for Gates. Now let's head out west and take a look at Nevada. This state has been blue for a little while, but a lot of people say it's trending toward the right. I think Gates would do better in Washoe County, while Trump would ignite voters in Clark. I definitely think it could go either way, but eventually I decided to make it a tilt for Trump. Next door in Arizona, this is another one that could go either way. In this scenario, I do think immigration would still be an issue, and that's obviously going to benefit Trump, but the state has moved away from his brand, especially in Maricopa. So it all depends on how much weight you want to put on which issue. I think Gates is definitely in this thing, but in the end, you got to make a decision, and I settled on a tilt for Trump. Now let's head over to Georgia. Now, a lot of the polling in the 2024 election actually has shown Trump ahead here. Now, I can't necessarily just apply that to this scenario because the Atlanta suburbs are similar to the Phoenix suburbs. The Trump brand is considered kind of toxic. I think it's a coin flip, but I did give it to Trump by a tilt. In nearby North Carolina, quickly, this one is going to go leads for Trump, probably by 1 to 3 points. Now, let's not forget about Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. I think Gates is probably a reasonable fit here compared to Trump. It's not going to be overwhelming, but we're going to give this to Gates by a 4 or 5 point lean margin. So now we've got the three Rust Belt states, and it's all going to be highly up for debate. Again, unions should theoretically be more open to Gates. Trump is going to have that cultural appeal, so it all depends on how you want to even it out. I'm going to say these are all tilt margins, which means it could pretty much go in either direction depending on anything changing in the slightest. It's very difficult. Trump is at 268. Any one of these states would put him over the top. So let's start with Michigan. We're going to give that one to Gates. A lot of times I do have Wisconsin going tilt for the GOP, as I see that as the state most likely of these three to flip. So for this, I'm going to keep that up, and I'm going to give Wisconsin to Trump by a tilt, and we're going to give Gates, Pennsylvania also by a tilt. So that means the final total is Trump 278, Gates 260. So Trump comes out here with a very slight win. Now I've got a lot of tilt states, so obviously I think this could go either way. It all comes down to what you want to emphasize. I pretty much explained everything as we went. Gates is just not going to be exciting enough to get voters out for him. He's not going to do well with progressives. He's going to be a status quo type of candidate and do better with higher educated and higher income voters. Trump is going to have people that come out against him. He's going to have people that come out for him. He's got baggage. He's controversial. But in this, I think voters are going to still have somewhat of an appetite for change. But it's close enough to where Gates, I think, could win at least 2 or 3 more states. I try to be fair to both sides and assume Gates runs a serious national campaign. So there's no point in going on forever about this. But the goal is to fill out a map and spark some conversation. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this crazy scenario? Do you think Gates would win this easily because theoretically he does not have the Trump baggage and he does not have the Biden baggage? Or do you think he's just too bland and too far removed from politics that Trump would win a couple more states? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.